Breathe. I'm Prinny Anderson, and it's great to see so many people here and not at all surprising. And we've been hearing this story about Julia and Shay going out and doing the conversations in black and white, and I want to add something nobody else has included. They always got a standing ovation.
Oh.
Yeah. They always got a standing ovation. I met Julia around the time that actually let me add to my introduction. Sally Hemings is my 5 times great aunt, and Martha Jefferson, Mrs. Thomas Jefferson, is my 4 times great grandmother, and they too were half sisters. So it's a complicated family, and it makes me cousins to just so many wonderful people. And it was as my white family was responding very hostily and disrespectfully to the introduction of the Hemings family and refusing to believe that there was any way we were connected, that I got to meet Julia. And she changed my life. I'm not sure I ever got to tell her that, so I'm telling her now. And one of the things that I take away from having known her, and I didn't know her super well, I wasn't particularly close, didn't see her that often, but she's had a lot more presence in my life than I think she knew. I really admire her courage. As a white woman who grew up in an environment very similar to Julia's, well-off, affluent, going to good schools, having lots of that white privilege, I look at her as a person who, the minute she found out she had African-American ancestors, was right out there talking about it. And I think about Washington, D.C., where I was being raised, as like, yeah, you talk about that girl, don't come back. That it would have been and most of the white Monticello Association people don't want to see me, don't want to talk to me. So I really admire Julia's courage to stand right up and say what was what. I think, so she taught me to move with my family, the whole family, and get to know those people, get to know all their names, and get to know this whole other set of ancestors, and to also begin to understand what it means when you start to have only white hair, and maybe a little more around your middle than you wished for, and to step into being an elder, to step into being a leader in your family, just because that's what we're supposed to do when we get to those ages. Not because we get elected, not because we're the most popular, but because that's what you do. And she taught me to go ahead and speak up to Monticello, mostly, about things Monticello didn't want to hear. And to remind them that there were white members of the family who agreed with and believed in the same things that the black members of the family were feeling and thinking. And then the last sort of legacy, in a sense, of something that I got to pass on because of Julia was, I was very active with an organization called the Slave Dwelling Project, and it was doing a conference on it was a big anniversary for the University of Virginia. And there was a conference and all kinds of activities. And one of the sessions, the one that I was responsible for putting together, was having people from the representatives of the enslaved communities of the presidents who were represented at University of Virginia. So Jefferson and Madison and Monroe. And in the process of finding people, I got introduced to a woman who was descended from Kitty Foster, who was an enslaved member of University of Virginia's enslaved community, helped build and serve the university. And she and I kept talking and talking, and I discovered that she was descended from, and I'm not gonna get all the family names right, but the Julia that was married to Julia's ancestor, the man who passed for white. And this woman had just in the last year discovered that her ancestors had passed for white. And she got disowned by half her family, just closed down, end of relationship. And I was trying to be comforting, and I asked her to be on this panel, and she was the last person to tell her story. And the whole panel got up and gathered around and said, well, you got a lot of family here now. You are connected, you're part of us. And you could just see her. And I thought, yeah, Julia taught us. And Julia, that's something Julia would have done, was to just reach out and say, yeah, you're part of us. So, thanks, Julia.